Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. Tonight I am going to show you how to make a really simple and delicious chicken and dumpling meal. So it's going to be creamy chicken and dumplings. And to start off with, we're going to go ahead and get our chicken cooking. So come on over here with me to the stove. I'm going to go ahead and turn my heat onto kind of a medium high. I've already got my chicken in here. I did do chicken tenders just to make it easy. And I'm going to add in 1 full box of chicken broth in here, chicken stock. It is going to be about equivalent to 4 cups of chicken broth. So if you wanted to just do like bouillon cubes and water, you could do that as well. I just like having the stock on hand. And then I'm also adding in 1 large onion that I've chopped up, 1 bag of baby carrots, and then a few stalks of celery that I just did a real quick rough chop on. Now you don't really have to do the veggies. I have made it before without adding the veggies in, but it'll give you that extra little bit of flavor and of course that extra little bit of nutrition, which is important. So we want to go ahead and just kind of do like a quick cook on this. So we're actually looking to bring that up to a boil fairly quickly. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt in there as well. And we'll kind of keep an eye on that while we're working on our dumpling dough. So for the dumplings, what we're using is 2 cups of flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder, not baking soda, baking powder. We're also going to add in some salt in here, a pretty healthy sprinkling of pepper, and a little bit of onion powder. I'd say probably about half a teaspoon of onion powder in there just to flavor it. And then of course it wouldn't have been mine if it didn't have herbs in it, so pretty healthy sprinkling of dried herbs as well. This is just a dried herb mix that I have, so any dried herb mix you have that you like you can put in here. You can do fresh herbs too. I actually like to do the dried herbs in this application because it mixes into the dough really well and kind of like spreads itself out a little bit better than like a more wet herb would. So I like to use the dried for this. So I'm going to stir together all of my dry ingredients first. Another thing that you could do if you wanted to, if you didn't want to do like your own seasoning mix in here, would be to just crush up a couple of bouillon cubes and put that in there, and that would incorporate more of that chicken flavor if that is what you're going for. So now we're going to add in 4 tablespoons of melted butter and approximately 1 cup of milk. I say approximately because you might end up using a couple tablespoons more depending on how your dough is looking. So now we're going to go ahead and mix this up. It's going to be a fairly wet dough, not completely, kind of a shaggy dough, if you will. And just make sure that you get the flour off the bottom. See how quickly that comes together? Like, it really does not take that much work. However, you're going to want to make sure your hands are clean because you are going to get your hands a little bit dirty here. And the first thing we're going to do is give ourselves a floured surface. The dough doesn't need to chill or anything like that, so it is really easy to make just on a weeknight like I'm doing tonight. And of course I want to get all my good dough out of here. Just scrape that off. And I'm going to do a little bit of flour on top. I'm just going to give this a real gentle little sort of kind of a knead just to form it together a little bit more like that. And then I'm going to cut this in half. Should have grabbed this earlier. Cutting it in half to make it just a little bit easier with the rolling out process. so that I don't have to be concerned about how far it's going, how big it's getting. And we're going to keep our pizza cutter nearby as well, because we're going to be using that in a minute. Okay. This is a really soft dough. You'll notice when you make it, it feels really good. Like, it feels really good in your hands. You don't really want to knead it a lot because you don't want it to get stiff, but it does feel really good in your hands. It's really smooth and just nice. And now we're going to use our pizza cutter, and this is how simple this is. It's so quick and easy. You're just making whatever size you want. Honestly, I probably made these a little too big, so I'm gonna make them a little thinner here. And then I'm just gonna use this bowl that I had used for my veggies that I chopped up and put them in here while I roll out my other dough. And the flour that's on there, you don't really have to be concerned about the amount of flour that you're getting on there, because that flour is going to thicken up your sauce. And so that's going to make it a little bit thicker and kind of give you the idea of it being creamier, even though it's not necessarily creamy because it doesn't have milk from the flour, of course, but it's going to make it thicker and saucier. So it's not going to be so much of a chicken soup as a chicken dish. So this is clearly the bigger of my two little things of dough here. So you'll have to ask Nathan what he thinks of this dish, because this is actually the first time I've made it for him. I've made it for my family several times, but I haven't actually made it for him. So we'll see what he thinks afterwards. All right. So that's it for my dumplings as far as getting them taken care of. Now, my chicken still needs to cook for a little bit until the chicken pieces are cooked through. To be honest, boiling chicken is the quickest and fastest way to get your chicken done. So that's really not going to take very long, maybe like 15 minutes, maybe tops 20. Once the chicken is boiled, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. Sorry, I'm talking too fast and then I inhale too much air. So then what I'm going to do once the chicken is cooked is I'm going to take the chicken out. I'm going to leave the veggies in because, of course, those need to cook a little bit longer to get nice and soft. But once I take the chicken out, then I'll put the dumplings in and we'll get them to the right point. So you'll be coming back at that point so you can see what the dumplings look like and what the sauce looks like when it's finished. So hang tight and you'll be right back with me. Hey guys, welcome back. So we are about ready to start dropping our dumplings. So we've got a lot of nice boiling action in here. Now, the best way to do this to give yourself the most water, broth, what have you, for your dumplings is to go ahead and scoop out your chicken and your vegetables if you're doing them, and just set them in a bowl aside. This is also helpful if you did like larger pieces of meat, which I did the kind of chicken tender size ones, so it does need to be cut down a bit. So this will help those to cool while you are getting your dumplings ready. Now, this looks like a little bit less liquid than I actually want, so I am just going to add in about 2 cups of water, and we're going to keep it pretty hot. I mean, obviously adding the water is going to bring it down a little bit, so we're going to keep the heat at a pretty high temperature just to keep that going. And so I'm gonna let this sit for a minute to just bring it back up to about a simmer. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop the dumplings in little by little. As the dumplings float to the talking too fast again, sorry. As they float to the top, that's pretty much when they're done. You might want to like flip them around a little bit just to kind of make sure it's cooked on all sides. But then at that point, we're going to take the dumplings out as well, which reminds me that I need another bowl to put the dumplings in. This is a little bit tiny, but it'll have to do. So this is starting to come up to start to boil again. I mean, obviously, if I had put the correct amount of liquid in there to begin with, we would have been good to go. But improvising in the kitchen is kind of the name of the game. The more that you work in the kitchen, the more experienced you'll get, and you'll know kind of what to do to fix things that you did wrong, because to be honest, you're gonna do things wrong. So I did things wrong. Hi, how are you doing? I'm good. You too? Okay. I can hear it. It's almost there. It's almost there. I just need one good bubble and then we're good to go. It's starting around the side. What I'm going to do is put the lid back on, because then the heat won't be escaping and it'll go ahead and start boiling for us. Because I do want to show you what the dumplings look like. And the flour in there, of course, is going to make us more of the saucy base. And then we're going to chop up our chicken and then pour everything over the chicken, and it should be yummy and delicious. What?
How long should they cook the vegetables?
Oh, okay. So Nathan brought up a good point while we're waiting here. The vegetables. How long should you cook the vegetables? If you are doing the vegetable option, which to be honest isn't necessarily the traditional thing, what am I trying to say? The celery is probably about 5 minutes away from being just about right. The carrots, obviously, because they're carrots, are going to be a little bit harder. You probably want to be cooking your carrots for about 45 minutes if you're doing this. So to be honest, the chicken doesn't take that long. What you could do is you can actually start your broth with the carrots first before you do anything else, and then go ahead and put your celery and your onion and chicken in at the same time after about 20 minutes of cook time for the carrots. Or what you could also do is, once you've got everything done, the dumplings are done, the chicken's done, the sauce is ready, put everything back in and just cover it again and let it simmer for about another 20 minutes. Either way, you should be good. Of course, you can also cut your carrots a little bit, which is going to make the cook time on those quicker. All right, so we got a good boil now, so we're just going to start dropping dumplings. And I like to do it by hand without burning my fingers off, if at all possible. The benefit to doing it by hand is that you are taking enough time, for one thing, to not overload the pot, because every time you're dropping something in, it's dropping the temperature of that liquid. And also, if you drop in, like, say, a spoonful of these, they're all going to clump together. So you can see we've already got some floating. They've puffed up a little bit. Now, they're not going to puff up a lot. This is kind of more like almost like Spätzle, if you've had Spätzle before, type of consistency, as opposed to like the really doughy dumplings that you're used to in a chicken soup. Those ones are awesome too. Both of them are good. Dumplings are amazing. But doing it by hand is giving me time to watch them and not overwhelm everything. So I'm just gonna let them sit in here a little bit longer. You can see how much bigger they are already. See that? And it's got the herbs all nicely incorporated in there. So Now, not only the sauce is going to be good, but the dumpling itself is going to have a lot of flavor, whereas traditionally a dumpling's kind of like delicious and comforting, but kind of bland. So these are looking really good now. I'm going to go ahead and scoop them out, put them in my bowl. And I'm just going to keep doing this, keep dropping dumplings. And I don't know if you would mind staying here while I do that, but I'm not going to make you stay here while I do that. So I'll have you come back once everything is a finished product. You can take a look and see if this is something that you would like to make. Hi guys, welcome back. All right, so I have put everything back in here. I've had it cooking for a little bit longer just to finish everything up, and now I'm going to take everything out again. So the reason I'm doing this is because Nathan and I like a creamy chicken and dumpling as opposed to like a more soup-based chicken and dumpling. Now, if you like a more soup-based one, you're actually pretty much good to go at this point. So you can just kind of eat it here. You can see that the broth is a little bit creamy, but not very much. And you've got all your veggies in there, so you're pretty much good to go on that. You would just want to taste test it to see if you like the seasoning level. But because we like ours a little creamier, what I did is I made a roux off to the side here with some butter, some flour. If you haven't watched my how to make a roux video, this would be the time to go check that out if you haven't already. So I have this off to the side, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to incorporate it in here. Do we have a whisk somewhere? No, it's here. It just got cleaned. All right, so I'm gonna need my whisk because normally the way that I add my roux in is I just add all the liquid into the pan that I made the roux in. But in a case like this, I'm actually going to whisk it into the sauce separately. So I just want to make sure that it incorporates well. What this is going to do, because I started adding milk into it, it's going to make it creamier. I probably actually would have used half and half or heavy cream if I had them in the house, but I did not tonight. So milk will work perfectly fine. So I've just got that now incorporated in there. What that's going to do is it's going to thicken up my sauce for me and make it less soupy, more saucy. You can already see it's starting to get that consistency to it. And then I'm just going to add everything back in there to get that coated in the sauce. There's been a little bit of back and forth between me and this pan tonight. And normally I feel like it's a little bit easier of a transition, but I was kind of trying to hurry tonight because, well, it's late and it's a weeknight and we got to eat. So I was kind of trying to rush it. So I apologize if I kind of seemed a little bit scattered, but this is the reality of being in your home kitchen. It's not nice and fancy like a restaurant kitchen. It's a little bit of a mess. It's a little bit all over the place, and you have to do quick fixes for things. But in the end, you get something that looks like this. And the last thing I'm going to do is just taste test this and see if it needs any more seasoning. I'm guessing probably a little bit more salt and pepper. And then that's good. Like, you could even use that minus the dumplings. You could even use that for like a pot pie filling or something like that. So that's going to be really hearty and comforting, and it's going to be something that we can eat for more than one meal. So I hope that you liked this recipe. If it's something that you try, please leave me a comment because I'd love to know that. And also for February, I need you to vote for me. We are thinking about doing jambalaya or my lemon ricotta cake. So please vote on which one of those you would like to see next. Bye-bye.